Hey guys, welcome back to the channel where we're checking out a video titled Why Station Wagons are more popular in Europe than in America. Oh my gosh, station wagons, man. Being absolutely honest with you, dude, I'm not sure if I've ever seen a station wagon in the United States. I'm being absolutely honest. I'm not over exaggerating. I don't know. Like, I now live in Europe, so I know these cars exist, and they're pretty tight. I ain't gonna lie to you, they're pretty nice, right? But I cannot recall ever seeing one of them in the United States, flat out. So kind of wild to think about it. But either ways, man, thank you guys for watching this video. Please do like and subscribe. If you have any recommendations, feel free to leave those in the comment section down below. I'll check them out as soon as possible. Without further ado, let's grab this video.
Wagons away! Hi, I'm Jack Smith, and right now it's station wagon savings time in the West. Time to hit the trail in high style with all the room and comfort that only a Rambler station wagon can give you.
The station wagon was once a fixture of American family life. It was a common sight in American garages and frequently featured in popular culture. These days, however, it has nearly vanished from U.S. roads. Americans, at least most of them, just don't like the segment, and it shows in the tiny number of wagons sold every year.
That is old, buddy. And that's the thing. I'm talking about new wagons. We ain't talking about them old things. We're talking about the new ones. Where them at? I ain't never seen one.
Americans just don't like wagons for whatever reason. We have rejected the body style for many years. It's been declining. We think back to perhaps some of those movies like National Lampoon's Vacation, where a family travels across the country in a wagon. Those days are long behind us, and these days wagon sales are less than 2% of all industry sales.
Meanwhile, crossovers and sport utility vehicles continue to swallow market share, leading many manufacturers
them the top dogs in the United States. Them ones right here.
To believe that if they want to sell a wagon, they need to lift it a bit, maybe cover it with some cladding, and call it a crossover.
Well, you want the crossover tag associated with it because that's what people are buying. And that's what they want to buy. At some point, they may want another tag because it's no longer cool to own a crossover or an SUV. But right now, that's not the case yet.
In 2018, consumers around the world bought just under 2.5 million wagons, roughly a mere 3% of all new cars sold. In the United States, the segment represents only about...
It seems like the entire world ain't rocking with it, though. 3%. Dude, wow. I don't think the world rocking with it because 3% is not a lot. For cars sold, there's so many different types of cars, and sports cars are like literally coupes, two-door cars. Those are like, I didn't imagine those would be the lowest on the list, with hypercars and stuff like that. So it's a huge shocker, honestly.
1 to 2% of all sales. But the segment represents only about all new cars sold. In the United States, the segment represents only about 1 to 2% of all sales. But in some European countries, sales are several times that. Wagons represented nearly 20% of all sales in Germany.
Holy shit! Finland and Sweden are the top dogs. Like, I cannot lie to you, I see wagons every day in Finland. Every day. That's crazy. Wagons outside right now in the community, right? How many wagons I see? Okay, that's a wagon. I think there's 2 wagons in a lot right now. 2 wagons. Yeah, and then they got SUVs out there. I think there's like 3 SUVs, and then there's like a smaller car, like two small cars. Yeah. There's no sedans. Oh my gosh. It's actually, wow, that's crazy to think about it. Now I'm visualizing it. It's crazy numbers.
And at least a quarter of sales in some Scandinavian countries, such as Finland and Sweden. Wagons also comprised 23% of all sales in Czech Republic, 16% in Slovakia, and 15% in Poland.
In Sweden, it's our home country, close to 50% of our volume is related to wagons. You have the best residual values, you have the most loyal consumers, and also that is how we live in Sweden. You know, nature is very important. We do exactly in line with Americans. You know, it's a lot of football and a lot of sports associated with our kids. So we need a space. And so the legacy of wagons is really in our DNA. Also, you see them all over the place in the roads in Sweden and in Europe.
More than 70% of all wagons sold in the world are sold in Europe.
Damn.
There, the wagon is still seen as an efficient blend of function and performance, especially when fuel prices can be quite high.
In Europe,
Fuel prices, wagons. I don't know. Does fuel prices and wagons go hand in hand? Because wouldn't that be just a small hatch car with a hatchback? I don't know. I never thought about wagons going hand in hand with fuel consumption, but okay.
the station wagon continues to be the body type for many families, even though they have lost traction as well in Europe.
Despite the fact that Europe is the world's wagon stronghold, data do suggest that sport utilities are eating into its share on that continent as well.
It's bigger.
Of course, on the other end of the spectrum, U.S. data show that sport utility vehicles have completely eclipsed the wagon as the family hauler of choice. Wagons have steadily lost share in the U.S. new car market, from 3.69% of new car sales in 2008 to 1.4% in 2018.
Terrible. That is terrible.
Crossovers and SUVs grew their share of the new car market in the U.S. by 20% from 2008 to 2018. They now make up nearly half of all new car sales. For now, wagons have managed to find a way to keep a foothold, albeit a small one, in America. For example, the segment-straddling Subaru.
So you consider this a wagon? Okay. I would have never considered the Subaru Outback or Forester. No, it's the Forester. Yeah, Subaru Forester. That's the SUV, and this one is. Oh, okay, I get it.
Subaru Outback has been.
Outback's actually, quite. Subaru's getting like a lot of popularity in the United States. The Forester and the Outback, I guess, is. I don't know. Outback doesn't really seem like a hatchback to me, but.
A tremendously successful product for that company. Part wagon, part crossover, the Outback was introduced in the 1995 model year as a variant of the Subaru Legacy, but was soon spun out into its own distinct brand and has become something of a phenomenon. The Outback alone accounted for the vast majority of wagon sales in the U.S. Of that 1.4% of the U.S. market wagons have, the Outback
1%.
alone makes up 1.2%. In
Yeah.
other words, almost all of it. That means all wagons sold by all other brands combined would account for just
0.2.
0.2% of the total U.S. new car market.
So when we talk about wagons, we're essentially talking about one model with a very decent industry share, and then a handful of other models that quite frankly don't sell very well.
The Outback is an example of how wagon-like vehicles can be successfully marketed in the United States, and perhaps gives an idea of how they are likely to look in the future if they stick around. Though it retains many of the basic features of a wagon, the car is lifted a bit and covered in plastic cladding to give it more of a rugged outdoor appearance. It retains the basic silhouette of the wagon, but the Outback has evolved over time to incorporate more attributes of SUVs and crossovers, Subaru told CNBC. This includes standard all-wheel drive, the ability to tow up to 3,500 pounds, and a full 8.7 inches of ground clearance, higher than what is found on many SUVs, the company said.
They were one of the early players.
That is exactly why I don't consider it a you-know-what.
Obviously in this crossover space before the term crossover was even mentioned, and that's, again, when they were being called wagons. So I think they've done well. They've got a very loyal buyer. They've expanded into, certainly the outdoor lifestyle buyer has long been a Subaru advocate. So I think as that continues to develop and people are more interested in active lives, and certainly what Super has to offer from just an on-road capability, but also on dirt and on trails even.
The Outback shows that selling a wagon in the U.S. may be a lot easier if it happens to look like a sport utility vehicle. In fact, it might be one of the only wagon-like vehicles to survive in the United States.
But yeah, no question about it. The wagon market is certainly taking cues from the SUV and crossover segments, and adding, as you said, a little bit of cladding, raising the ground clearance up a little bit to give it that view that essentially it can compete with a crossover.
That rather dire outlook has not stopped other automakers from rolling the dice, though. General Motors sells the Buick Regal Tour X, a U.S. version of the Opel Insignia wagon GM used to sell in Europe when it owned the Opel brand. Notably, the U.S. version has the same plastic cladding and slight lift, which is not seen on the European version.
I've never seen this car before.
But with a lower center of gravity, it gives more sedan-like driving dynamics and a lower roof for easy rooftop access, key features wagon buyers want in a car. There are several positive signs for wagon fans elsewhere in the U.S. if they have the cash. Much of the variety in the U.S. wagon market is found at the higher end, where luxury and high performance can gloss over the otherwise dowdy and domestic image the wagon has. Given the fact that the countries with some of the highest wagon sales are Germany and the Scandinavian nations, it makes sense that most of these premium wagons are from German and Scandinavian automakers.
Volvo!
The Swedish brand
That
Volvo
BMW.
is perhaps the brand best known for wagons, and it's among the brands most committed to the segment in the United States. Though Volvo has lately focused intensely on building out its lineup of sport utility vehicles, a substantial portion of its portfolio is still in wagons.
We have I see the same opportunities in US. So one part of me is a little bit confused that this should be much bigger. The volume should be much bigger. But then we have the SUV trend in US that probably overlaps that kind of, because you get the space too, an SUV. But I would say the wagons are, for me, they're beautiful, and I think you see them.
Nah, the new Volvos, they nice. They're nice. They're very beautiful. I do not like the old ones. I absolutely hate them. But the new ones are very beautiful. That's exactly how I feel about the SUVs and the wagons, the Volvos. I think the older ones are idiots, and the new ones are beautiful. It's a beautiful sight to see.
The cars here, design-wise, they are not boxy anymore, and they are not boring. You get both. You get the driving capabilities as a sedan, and you get more space, and also it looks
nice
sporty.
looks. Yes, sir.
That's what we aim for.
Volvo sells the mid-sized V60 wagon and the larger V90. Both can be bought in the cross-country trim, which means the car is lifted and comes with the familiar dark cladding on the sides of the car. And Volvo also has a 415 horsepower performance hybrid version of its V60, bearing Volvo's Polestar brand, which was once its in-house performance shop and now specializes in making high-performance electric vehicles. Mercedes-Benz sells its E-Class wagons in the US, mostly to well-heeled buyers with families. The car sells especially well in the Northeast. Wagon sales make up a tiny portion of Mercedes' US total, 0.7% to be exact. But buyers are loyal, and they pay. An E450 4MATIC wagon starts at about $66,000, and the higher performance AMG E63S starts above $108,000. Fellow German automaker Audi said in August of 2019 it plans to bring the RS6 Avant wagon to the US. The RS6 Avant is a performance wagon Audi will sell alongside the A4 all-road wagon it currently offers.
The wagons that be performing, boy, they pretty. What about the BMW? Because BMW got one, the M5 hatchback version wagon M5
offers, and the A6 all-road, which Audi said in October it will also be bringing back to the US. In recent years in the United States, Audi has only sold its A4 all-road wagon, which is also a popular choice among premium wagon buyers. Even Porsche has a wagon-like vehicle. However, the number of wagon-loving diehards seems to be shrinking, and many in the industry are not optimistic that the wagon will make a comeback anytime soon.
Yeah.
I wonder how many more cracks at the bat we're going to get here from this forbidden fruit and these wagons coming from overseas. So things are getting even slimmer for wagon enthusiasts out there.
I think it's as simple as this. The Subaru Outback is, Outback. It's rugged. It goes in the trenches, the mud, the dirt, whatever, and it does that. And I think a lot of people loves that. And I think the Subaru Outback, I don't know if you guys know, but Toyota Corolla, Camry, Honda Civic, if I'm not mistaken, they're like the top dogs when it comes to sales in the United States. But we're not going to talk about the CR-V and the RAV4. We're not going to talk about those because those are SUVs. We're talking about the cars, right? So I think the Outback is becoming one of those guys, right? Where it's irreplaceable. All the competitors has no competition because it's there and they're there, right? And that's how it's going to just be for a long time. But the performance, like the Audi and the BMW and the Mercedes, I think those guys are gonna do well because they're performance. You know what I mean? So if somebody's looking for a performance wagon, they're gonna go for that. It's as simple as that. But outside of that, I don't think wagons are ever gonna get a big hit in the United States ever again. It's as simple as that.
And so the future for wagons, it's going to be tough for future European wagons to really come to the United States.
What buyers are more likely to end up with is a crossover, which some say is really a wagon in a slightly different form.
There isn't a lot of what I would call pure wagon development going on right now. So with that as a backdrop, the I guess prospects for the wagon aren't necessarily strong, but the caveat here is you're getting into that blurring area where what is a wagon and what's a crossover, and a lot of the stuff that is being developed is what I would argue is shorter height-wise vehicles that have kind of that crossover style but are probably more like a wagon.
Sport utility vehicles do seem to have certain practical advantages over traditional passenger cars that consumers seem to find irresistible. Most importantly, their taller height gives drivers a better view of the road and often a more comfortable, upright seating position.
Yep.
Customers also consider them easier to get in and out of. Fuel economy has also improved on SUVs to the point where they are often about as efficient as comparably sized passenger cars. But their image as more rugged, sporty, and versatile vehicles has played a significant role in their appeal, say many industry watchers. They have become so popular as family vehicles that they may one day end up with the same reputation wagons themselves earned over the decades. Practical, but deeply uncool.
Practical but deeply uncool. Oh my gosh. Wagons were the shit back in the day. There was no competition. Saloons always been there, but I think wagons were the shit for a long time. But they became boring, man. Other cars changed the design, and wagons just stayed and just, long and lengthy and just, in my humble opinion. However, with the Outback, it's a different breed. It gives purpose to the wagon, if that makes any sense. So I think the Outback, like I said, is going to do great for a very long time. And the competitors will struggle, and it's as simple as that. A normal 5 Series BMW is not going to do very well in the United States, but if you put the sports M5 competition, sedan, hatchback wagon, it will do well, in my humble opinion. But either ways, outside of that, the lame wagons, nah, they're not going to do well. It's as simple as that. They need purpose, in my humble opinion. But you guys can let me know what y'all think in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching. I'm out of here. Peace.